What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So we are back at it for this week's episode of Dexter Original Sin, episode 8. So we're gonna go through. I think there were some surprises here. Not so much surprised, but we got confirmation on several things, and we had a few. We'll call them cameos, unofficial cameos, for this episode, as it relates to pivotal villains that were in the original Dexter series. So we're gonna go through some of this. Now keep in mind, this is going to be a heavy spoiler review. We are going to be giving out information, we're going to be discussing information. So if you have not seen episode 8, I would suggest pause, go watch episode 8, come back, watch the rest of the video, drop a comment in the comment section. Let us know what you think about our take and our rating for this week's episode. Again, heavy spoilers will be discussed going from this point on. So episode 8, Business and Pleasure, is the title of this episode. And we start off a little bit where the last episode left off. You know, we saw Aaron Spencer in the convenience store, grocery store, buying those meals that were being used as to keep the two children alive, Judge Powell's kid and now Aaron Spencer's kid, Nikki. And then this episode picks up where we see the individual, the villain, crushing up some medicine to put into the water in order to knock out, obviously that's what it did to Nikki when he gave it to him. So he gave him one of the meals, gave him a bottle of water. Nikki consumed it, passed out, and this is where we get the official confirmation that Aaron Spencer is the one behind the kidnapping. Now, we know he's behind at least his own son's kidnapping. We don't know if there's others helping him, right? We don't know if it's just him or somebody else, but either way, he's involved even in the judge's kidnapping, because it's obviously the same room, MO is all the same. So the rationale, though, that he used as far as the pills go to knock Nikki out, he stole his jersey off of him while he was passed out. Now this will become pivotal towards the middle point of the episode, a significant point, but then will definitely play into how this episode ends. Okay, so now we move on throughout the rest of the episode, and I'm not gonna, my notes I have laid out, I'm not going in any particular order. These are just some of the core things, key things I want to call out from episode 8. So soon after this transpires, we come to Harry telling Dexter that he needs to track down Deb. Okay, Deb's not home. We know Deb was previously suspended from school. She was kicked off the volleyball team. She's pretty much, by herself. She's pushed all of her friends away. She's obviously never had a connection with Harry or Dexter throughout these 8 episodes. She feels very much on her own, and we saw that as her personality in the original Dexter series, but she's spending now a lot more time with Gio, her boyfriend. Harry just now finds out that he's not a high schooler, that he's actually, I think they mentioned he was either 24, 25 years old. So tells Dexter, you need to find her, bring her home. And then this is where Dexter takes the opportunity to try to convince Harry that, hey, Aaron is the killer, he's the murderer, and this is why, right? As far as reading the blood test, making sure everything goes from Dexter to him, and the cut. Harry doesn't believe him. Harry just dismisses it and moves on with trying to get out of the house to get on with his day. But the one pivotal point in that conversation, though, as he was telling Dexter he didn't believe him, was that he told Dexter that he feels like he's starting to now project his darkness out onto other people. And once he said that and walked out of the house, you could see the look on Dexter's face. Either he wanted to lash out, or it hurt him, like as far as like he didn't ever think his dad would talk to him or hold his darkness against him. So yeah, it was I think a pivotal point of turn for Dexter, that he now realizes even his dad's holding his darkness against him in some aspects. So okay, so as we move on now, we come across with Deb and Gio, and I've mentioned this in previous episode reviews before. I've always thought something was going on with Gio. This guy, there's something up. Driving the fancy car, spending a lot of money, Whether I ever believed he was part of Estrada's organization or not, that has not been confirmed or denied outright. But something is obviously going on, and we find out more in this episode. So he takes Deb to Benimi, I think that's how you pronounce it, and this is where Deb is the Deb we see in the original series. Drinking, doing drugs, sleeping, pretty much sleeping around at this point. I mean, obviously sleeping with Gio. But it's like she has this I don't care attitude against the world. And then once things start kind of spiraling for her, she starts to then blame everyone else, so to speak. So while that's happening, Dexter's trying to track her down, goes to the high school, talks to Sophie. Sophie, tries to give a last name and just confirms the fact that Deb's been pushing everyone away, including Sophie. So she hasn't seen her. All right, so Dexter's off now doing that. Now we come to where we got in the last episode where La Guerta and Harry were going to go to Tampa, right? They were looking for one of their suspects. We see that play out a bit here in this episode. And they do have, as on the trip, her and Harry have a bit of a bonding moment where, Harry's trying to, explain, hey, what's going on with Deb. She's being rebellious. She's just not listening. And then Maria kind of explains her experience as far as how she immigrated to America. Again, just trying to have that bonding moment. And we also then, we skip ahead a bit. And I think it's either like the next day or early that next morning when Harry goes to pick her up at this apartment or place, and Maria walks out with somebody. We at one point we don't know who it is. We have an idea of who it is, but then when she walks up to Harry, she tells him outright that was Miguel Prada. So she mentions he's still in law school. So we saw a reference of a young Miguel Prada. If you don't know who he is, he's one of the characters, I believe, I think it was season 3 of the original series. Turns out to be, has his own little dark passenger, and Dexter ends up killing him. So again, nice little callback there, because we always knew that those two had a relationship, but we actually got to see, we didn't see the relationship here, but the fact that they did a nod to the character. So, keep moving on through this episode. Spencer is trying to keep Dexter busy. So, Dexter is back at the precinct. And again, none of these are in order. None of my notes I have in order. Again, these are just key things that I caught from the episode. So, in order to keep Dexter busy, Spencer tries to almost bury him in paperwork on cold cases to do blood analysis. Now, Dexter's boss and thinks this is a great opportunity. Hey, you're getting noticed, but Dexter realizes that's not what's happening. Again, Aaron Spencer's trying to keep Dexter buried down so he doesn't kind of look any further. Right after that happens, Aaron Spencer quickly leaves the precinct to run an errand. So Dexter does, as we would expect him to do, he follows him down into a neighborhood where he hands off a plastic bag and a wad of money to some random individual. Random to us, not random to Aaron Spencer. Dexter sees this. And Dexter follows the individual, sees where he goes and the house he goes into, not knowing what's going on. But again, he now knows that Spencer is either somewhat involved or up to something. Now, let's keep pushing on here. So Maria and Harry go to the house of their murder suspect, only to find out that there's police tape on the door that do not enter, and their suspect is dead, previously killed. So they now know it's not him. They go back to the Tampa precinct where they are given all of the files for the doctor that was killed, the psychiatrist that was killed. And there's just mounds and mounds of paperwork, right? So now they're trying to figure out, okay, who's killed our suspect, and we got to go through all this paperwork to see if there's any linkage. While they're doing that, this is where the second nod comes up to play from the original series, and even this series. As they're going through all these files, Harry comes across, what would you guess? Brian Moser's file. Now he realizes Brian Moser was a patient of this particular doctor who was killed, And as he's going through it, he realizes through the paperwork, his name is mentioned in there a few times. The affair, the fact that Dexter calls him dad. So he quickly tries to rip out this paperwork while LaGuerta is getting coffee, tries to take the entire file and put it like in his own bag. And just as Maria's walking in, you can tell she noticed something was off, something was different. But again, didn't really address it at that particular point. But now we know Harry's trying to hide the file in order to keep any connection from not just him to Brian and Dexter, but Brian to the murders as well. So this then leads us soon to a flashback where we see Hector breaking down the doors, kidnapping Laura and her kids, because earlier on in a flashback we see they found and saw Harry interacting with Laura and the kids, so they know Harry's a cop. Now they're kidnapping her. Estrada's men invade her home and take all three of them to a shipping container. Now during this event, right before they kick the door down, we see Brian painting Laura's nails, and would you guess it, they're being painted all different colors. This was a nice little callback to season 1, right? The ice truck killer, where they would find the hand, like the arms or the hands, and the nails would all be painted different colors. At the time of that happening, we didn't know exactly why it was happening, but again, this is a callback where it appears that Brian was doing that even as a young child, and that might have been, just something for whatever reason we don't know yet. And I don't think we'll ever know exactly why he's doing it, but again, callback. So now those three are gone. They're in the shipping container, along with some other individuals. I think there was like 4 or 5 other individuals in the same shipping container that these three are placed in and waiting to be disposed of. We know they're going to be disposed of. So we keep moving on. Dexter finds Gio's address, shows up to his apartment only to discover Gio has a fiance. He is engaged, and obviously that I don't think we even were shocked by this. I think again we all were expecting Gio to be kind of sketchy, kind of scandalous, so no shock here. And then where Deb is at currently, Deb finds out that Gio is smuggling things as she went back onto the boat where they were at to get her coat. Gio comes down and is like, hey, what are you doing? I told you to leave alone. And pretty much like, hey, we're done. Get off my boat. You're on your own. And leaves her on this island, or in this on this island, or wherever they're at, and just leaves her there. Dexter happens to show up because he borrowed a boat, and it's like, hey, I knew you were here. Let's go home, right? I mean, it was kind of like just one of those coincident things where they had, from a story perspective, that he would just happen to show up, and she would happen to have not got a ride, any help from anybody. She was just literally just sitting on the shore, almost as if she was just waiting for someone to come save her. So on their way back, they have again another bonding moment. We've seen, I think this is like the second or third one we've seen. We obviously saw one over the brownies that they had in one episode, and here they have another kind of bonding experience as siblings. But this is also where Dexter realizes the ocean is going to be the best place for me to start dumping my victims, and now we know how that comes to be. So they get back to the house, and they were going to have Deb wanted to spend some more time with him, and he gets called away to work. This is where I think a moment for Deb comes up, because she then looks over at the kitchen table, sees it's empty, sits in either her mom, I think it would be her mom's chair, and starts to break down, and the scene starts to fade away. You can almost see like she's having this moment of completely feeling alone. She's got no family, no friends. Gio just broke up with her, so she's literally got nobody, and that's the projection that she's giving off, and the writers are giving us, right, that she's completely alone. However, it just feels like what they've done with her character is just a mirrored image of what she was in the original series, but just in high school, which again has never made sense to me, because I don't think she would have been exactly this crass and this just free as she is now compared to the original series. I thought she would have grown into that as an adult, but as I guess they're making her just pretty much the same character, but now just really in high school. So As we move on, now we're getting towards the end of the episode. Captain Spencer, Aaron Spencer, framed another gang with that jersey with the help of that one individual with Nikki's jersey. And, hey, Nikki's been spotted here. We need to get the SWAT team. Let's go. So they get this entire, and I believe it's a cartel hideout. That's what's going on. But again, I think it was just a matter of Aaron being able to frame the cartel with this, get the spotlight completely on them, so there's no question that anything would be put onto him. They get there, they go in, and it's chaos. Once they get everyone in one room, Aaron starts to freak out, and just all hell breaks loose. One of the individuals ends up grabbing a gun. Aaron Spencer shoots, they shoot, and then we have a gun battle, right? And unfortunately, in the midst of this, Bobby gets shot in the neck. Bobby being Harry's previous partner throughout this series, so he's hurt bad. They kill everyone in the room, and now Aaron's having a breakdown. Where's my son? We gotta find my son, even though he's the one that would know where his kid is. So Dexter's standing there watching Harry, not Harry, but Aaron break down, or like this fake breakdown. And Dexter has this look on his face like he's enjoying the fact that he can see other people's darkness and he knows how to look for it. So he almost has this slight smirk on his face, kind of like the one on the screen here that you can see. And then we pan out over to Maria and Harry. Harry's getting some food from a food truck, and Maria reaches back into the bag, finds the Brian Moser file, starts to question quickly who he is, but then Harry makes his way back. She puts the file back quickly, and then that's when they find out that Bobby has been shot, and they kind of just move off from that little story point and start heading to the hospital, I would assume. Excuse me. So we don't see anything further in this episode on that point that, LaGuerta saw Brian Moser's file. What is it? The episode pretty much now ends off where we are back in the shipping container with Hector Estrada, these other random people, and Laura and Brian Dexter all sitting there. And now here we are. He orders his men to kill everyone in there. So we now know this is where, on episode 8, Laura, at least from the flashback perspective, this is where Laura dies, and both Brian and Dexter are left in the shipping container alive. So I would imagine, so that's what, again, that's a quick wrap up of my notes and my points I wanted to bring up for this episode. I would give this episode, I'd give it a 3. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. I was just happy that we got to finally just get the confirmation it is Aaron Spencer, and now he's trying to cover his tracks. We got a few callbacks, the fingernail painting. We got to get the callback on Miguel Prada. So I just thought those were nice little things to tie what we already knew in the original series to this one. So again, I give it a 3. I think we're going to get, we have 2 episodes left. I think we're going to see a little bit more about what's going on with Gio. What is he smuggling? Who's he involved with? I think the way it's going, I'm thinking he could be directly tied to Estrada. That could be his uncle that he's working for. I think that's going to pan out to be the case. I think LaGuerta is going to now pull Harry aside or call him out and question him directly. Who's Brian Moser? Let me see all the information. But that's assuming Harry doesn't, dispose of the file and be like, oh, I got rid of it. It wasn't a big deal. It's a nobody. Because we know that LaGuerta doesn't become aware of any of that information. Otherwise, she would have known that in season 1 when we have the ice truck killer in the original series. So, all right, everyone, that's going to do it for today's summary, or this week's summary of episode 8. Again, I'm giving it a 3. I thought there were some high points in there, but there are obviously some, just low and mid-level points. Up thus far, I haven't been a fan of this show, of this one and done series, because again, I've always said this before, I feel a lot of what's being told to us we already knew about. But the last episode and this one, I think, are 2 of the best so far of all of them. And again, we only have 2 left, so I'd imagine at some point in the next 2 episodes, we're going to have to see from a flashback perspective where Harry adopts Dexter and chooses not to adopt Brian. So I'd imagine we're going to see that at some point. And I don't think now, seeing where the story is going as far as present time, I don't think we're going to get to where Harry kills himself, right? Because I believe, if I remember correctly, both Dexter and Deborah are a little bit older by the time Harry did that. And Harry, in the original series, went and saw a psychiatrist, a doctor friend, before he killed himself, which they haven't even touched on that yet. And he was complaining about Dexter's darkness, how bad it was getting or what it was. Because if you remember, I think that was the last series or season of the original series. I can't remember the doctor's name. I want to say Vogel, but I'm not sure if that's it. So if anyone wants to correct me, put it down in the comment section. But I remember that psychiatrist talking heavily to Harry about what was going on. And then he eventually killed himself. So we haven't even seen any of that yet. So I now don't think we're going to get to the point where Harry kills himself in this series. So I think it might just be something that happens, obviously, off camera between this prequel and the season 1. So, all right, everyone, that's going to do it for today. Make sure to drop a comment in the comment section. Let us know what you think about episode 8. Where do you rank it? Again, I'm giving it a 3. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It was just pretty mid-level for me. Also, if you haven't done so already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Otherwise, we'll see you at the next one. Peace.